Picture this. It's the dawn of 2024 and you're poised for success. Why? Because you've established your why. This isn't just a whim or a hobby. It's the passion that propels you forward, the core of your ambition. Next, you assess your current position. Where do you stand? What are your strengths, your weaknesses? Honesty is key here. Now, envisage your destination. What do you want to achieve by the end of this year? Set those goals. Make them smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. With your destination locked, it's time to map out your plan. Break down your goals into manageable steps, then start stepping. Remember, action without reflection is aimless. Record your results, analyze your performance, and adjust your plan.
Hold on, we haven't gotten live yet. For some reason, it didn't go live. So I'm going to go live again. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Picture this. It's the dawn of 2024 and you're poised for success. Why? Because you've established your why. This isn't just a whim or a hobby. It's the passion that propels you forward, the core of your ambition. Next, you assess your current position. Where do you stand? What are your strengths, your weaknesses? Honesty is key here. Now, envisage your destination. What do you want to achieve by the end of this year? Set those goals. Make them smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. With your destination locked, it's time to map out your plan. Break down your goals into manageable steps, then start stepping. Remember, action without reflection is aimless. Record your results, analyze your performance, and adjust your plan accordingly. The path to success in 2024 isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Take meaningful action, keep your eye on the prize, and continually strive for improvement. Here's to a successful 2024.
Good morning, everybody. Great to have you all back here today on a wonderful Thursday morning. I'm sitting here in Neisner, and my 3 wise men are all in Johannesburg or Pretoria, so I welcome to them. It's a real special day today. We're going to be talking about a deep dive into diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, this is a very interesting subject, and the reason for this fantastic debate is we've got Paul Tanton. Now, Paul Tanton is a leadership coach. He's part of Uvita, and he's basically an expert in this field. So it's really good to have you, Paul, today. And then obviously we've got Wilhelm Lombard, who is an energy coach, a life energy coach. And Wilhelm looks at putting teams together and getting the energy right between the teams to ensure that they are most effective. And then we've got Daniel. Daniel is an expert. He's a speaker. He's a notary. He's a person who's got huge amount of insight into marketing. So welcome to you, Daniel. And then myself, David Barr, I'm part of the CEO Business Club, and what I do is help businesses break through that glass ceiling of actually creating abundance in their business. So we've got all 4 of us today, and what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about this subject. But before we get there, I'd like to ask Paul just to give a quick overview and introduce himself. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. So I focus on changing the world in terms of leadership. So that's my main focus. So a little bit of background in the corporate world for the last 9 years, actually working with individuals to transform them and to actually unlock the leadership skills. So I love working with people. I love bringing effectiveness and excellence into the work environment. So I hope that's enough information, David.
Fantastic. Welcome, Paul. Great to have you here today. Thank you for joining us. And let's go to Wilhelm Lombard, a life energy coach. Over to you. Please introduce yourself, Wilhelm.
Good morning, guys. It's a wonderful day, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Yes, I'm a life energy coach and a performance strategist. So it's all about energy for me. If there's energy in a team, if your own energy is where it should be, your performance is where it should be. So that's how I help people to perform better personally, interpersonally, and professionally. So yes, lekker to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilhelm. Great to have you here. Thank you so much. And Daniel, please introduce yourself. Thank you.
So it's a privilege to be and a privilege to work with people. And I'm really excited. We've got some things coming up, and just to see people being empowered, because a lot of people don't realize, their talents, their gifts. So when I see people starting to do the thing that they were called to do, it really gets me excited. So happy to be here. And I'm really hoping today to see some people rise up and enter into their destiny. That's me, Dan. And it's going to be for me, it's still going to be a great 2024 to watch the people rise.
Absolutely. So one of the things, thanks, Dan. One of the things that we do at Vision 2024 is actually ensure that you have the tools and the knowledge on how to actually ensure that your 2024 is not a repeat of 2023 or 2022 or 2021. So that's what we're here to do. And every week we basically meet up, we have different speakers, and the idea is to dive deeply into certain subjects. So today what we're going to be doing is talking about a really important subject, and that's diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Now, as we know, in South Africa, we've got 11 different languages, official languages, and we have a huge number of different people from different tribes, different cultures, different backgrounds. And not only do we have people that are local, we also have people, non-Indigenous people that are like Chinese, Indians, that have come and stayed here for many, many years. And they live here and they're part of our society and our community. And one of the big things in the future is to be able to work together. And that's what we're going to be talking today. How can we improve that work together in the workplace? I see we've just lost Paul. I'm sure Paul will be coming back. So in the meantime, let's talk about, we're going to be talking today about effective DEI. DEI stands for, guess what? It stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Then what we're going to be talking about, effective DEI strategies, DEI and organizational performance. We're going to be talking about challenges to include true inclusion in the workplace. We're going to be talking about leaders' roles in DEI and that. And then we're going to be talking about future trends in DEI. So let's just start with the first subject. The first one is effective DEI strategies. And one things I'd like to ask is Wilhelm to talk to us a little bit about his teamwork that he does and how he actually ensures that there is effective DEI strategies in place within businesses and organizations, within team structures in order to work correctly. Wilhelm, can I pass the subject to you? Over to you.
Thank you very much, David. Yes, when I think from a leadership or rather than a life energy perspective, energy is, as I always say, everything. We need energy in a business. And I find that lots of businesses, because of the diversity and because people are not communicating well, and because they don't really respect the diversity, there's sometimes a lack of energy. It drains more energy than it gives energy. And we must remember we are all different people. It is not just about race and gender and all those things. It is, if I just think about my family, we are 5 people in my family, and there's extended family and everybody. But we are all different people. And that is what makes it so powerful, So we must realize that the difference is nobody is the same. We are unique, and we must realize that. And the problem that people sit with sometimes is to think that other people must think the same way as they think. And the moment when you do that, you actually inhibit, you actually put something over your energy and the development of what can happen. Because if we respect the diversity and we listen to what different people's views are, it is so much powerful, and it unlocks lots of potential and energy in this whole organization. So I always, You know, it's really a problem nowadays. There's really some issues with people, and I think from my point of view, it's all about a lack of energy. People are burning out, people are suffering, have lots of stress, and the moment when they realize, but listen, I need to unlock my energy again, I need to close the gaps where energy is actually flowing out of the system, then they realize how important the energy is, and then suddenly it actually unlock potential in the company and in people's minds. So I always try to find the places where there might be some energy leaks in a business or so. So that's from my side to start off. I hope I answer your question. David, you are freezing. And you're muted. It seems the technology is an issue today. David, you are muted. Well, Paul, maybe you can start to talk and tell us more about how you see the subject.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about the disconnected this side. Yeah, look, I think we've got to accept that there is diversity, no matter where you are. I mean, you mentioned it's not about race. It's not about, there's so much diversity around us. Look at nature. I mean, nature for me is the biggest diversity, and how those things work together. So if you look at from a leadership perspective, diversity in the organization has to be led by someone in terms of saying, are we representative? Now, it's not about getting quotas and all sorts of things like that. It's about making sure that we are recognizing people. And that's probably the biggest challenge we have from a leadership perspective, not recognizing people. And one of the dangerous comments I hear quite often is, I don't see color. Well, if you don't see color, that's a real challenge to me. There are color differences. There are gender differences. Let's see that. Let's embrace that. And let's see how we can use that to understand the communal learning from people, because everyone has a different background. You spoke about 5 people in your family, but I mean, everyone is different. And someone said to me once, if you have 5 children in a family, you actually have 5 different mothers. Yes, biologically, there's one mother, but everyone's relationship with that mother was totally diverse and totally different, because they're either the firstborn or the lastborn. So just recognizing diversity in the place, the workplace, and wherever we are is so important.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for taking over there. I had a connectivity issue here. But now, Daniel, over to you. What is your perspective on this as far as effective DEI strategies in your workplace? You're muted, Daniel.
So I must be honest, can you hear me now? Okay, so one of my favorites about being diverse in marketing, and it sometimes gets me into trouble, is I tend to forget, sometimes we have sensitive people. However, what I do enjoy about marketing and diversity is getting the different perspectives. So as you guys know, we've got Nando's in South Africa, and I love the controversial stuff that Nando's brings on. And one thing I'm really enjoying is what I'm seeing is when you work with different diversity groups, it also helps you give an understanding. So for example, in marketing, one of the things I always say to people is, guys, people want to know your story. So sometimes we are so set in our ways, we're so set seeing the same things every day, the same trends. So when you start to hang with other cultures and you start to learn about other cultures, it's actually amazing. So for example, even the church I'm in, it's a very different culture. So I'm starting to now learn, a lot about other cultures, and it's really helping me understand people. The more I understand people, the better I become at what I do. So for example, in my marketing, I got to think, if I say this thing now, how's it going to make Black people feel? How's it going to make Indian people feel? How's it going to make colored people feel and Asian people feel? And that's when I started to learn a little bit more about, community guidelines on social media. And I learned, what can you do? What can't you do? Because sometimes we don't think, what we're going to do, how's it going to affect people. So for me, I'm going to say include people, make people part of the discussion, and make people feel welcome. It's the one problem I do have with culture is you get a thing called cliquey cultures where you actually feel like, you know what, they don't accept me because I'm white, or they don't accept me because I'm black. So it's a nice thing to include people, because if you include people, you're going to have more success, more opportunities, more growth. Your marketing's going to explode. And it's another thing I've learned, you know, even when doing my marketing, what I've learned to do, because we live in a mixed race country, is use, you know, on my videos, use different cultures, different color. And it actually then, obviously, when your message goes out, you know, whether it's a job, whether it's marketing, people will feel welcome. And they'll look at your brand like, hey, it seems like a friendly brand. That's my take on it.
No, Daniel, I think what you're saying is really important. You know, one of the things that I've learned early on, well, not early on, in my midlife crisis, was I got involved with a lady from Taiwan, and in that relationship, I didn't understand her side, her culture at all, and it was all about communication. So, you know, and also asking the right questions. And I think this is the most important thing in anything that you do, is to ask the right questions or know what questions to ask. So, you know, the thing that I found for myself is that I had no understanding of what she was going through. And even with her, she didn't understand me. And it was very difficult. But what my learning from that is that, you know, when you deal with different people, is to first of all listen, but to ask the right questions. Because, you know, I expect people to think about or to know what's going on with me. And if they don't ask me the right question, I won't be able to tell them exactly what's going on within me. And I think that's the difference between all of us. I mean, I look at how, you know, when you meet with different people in South Africa specifically, you see how the families operate. And my family operates very differently to some other families in this country. And we don't actually understand what their expectations are, what their requirements are, what their constraints are, etc. But even more so, it's more complicated than just that. It's more complicated since I'm now, for example, in my family myself, I find that my sister's point of views are very different to my points of view on various subjects. So it's like a myriad of minefields of going through and actually having all these conversations with people and actually understanding them. So I think the main thing is communication, asking the right questions, and actually having one of the things that my grandfather taught me, you know, count to 10. But not only just when you're upset, but count to 10 when somebody else has been speaking, and then stop and think, okay, what can I ask? What is the right question that I can ask to find out more about this person or what they're feeling, etc. And I think those type of strategies in the workplace would really help. You know, there was a story that I had I heard, you know, of this guy. He wakes up in the morning and he's got a headache and he goes downstairs and he basically is not in a good mood. He speaks to his wife not in a good way, speaks to his child in a good way, and basically the rest of the day is in a terrible state. And no one understands why he's feeling like that. But now the situation is that for example, if that person had actually said, guys, I'm not in a good mood today, I'm not in a good space today, I've got a headache, maybe there's more understanding, and the whole family structure would have actually been a much better outcome. So this is something that obviously is a good strategy to implement. Let's go to the next system, and I think this is where, you know, Wilhelm's had a lot of interaction, and so has Paul, within team structures within organizations. And, you know, by doing this, what would the outcome be with regard to implementing great DEI strategies in the business place and within teams? Let's go to Paul, and then we'll go to Wilhelm and Daniel. Over to you, Paul.
I think the most important thing, and you touched on it with your first question, is the strategy. The strategies are long term. Where do we want to be? So as the leader in that team is you've got to decide with the team where we're going. So I think for a team, it's important to know that we're pulling in the right direction because you're sitting with different cultures, you're sitting with different ways of thinking. And there's that a lovely African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, travel together. And in a team, if you're listening to people, to your point earlier, communication, it just makes it so much easier. Is it easy? No, it's never going to be easy because you're sitting with a diverse culture. But for everyone to feel that they're part of that team, the inclusion, then we have to make sure that everyone knows where you're traveling. So it's a basic fundamental of leadership is where are you going? Does everyone know where you're going? If that is clear, then it's so much easier to bring the team aboard.
Thank you, Paul. Wilhelm, your perspective.
Thank you, David. Yes, you mentioned a few things. You talk about communication. Now, communication is such an important thing, and we must remember communication starts with me. I need to take the responsibility for my communication and what I send, the message that I've sent, and I also need to take the responsibility for the message that I receive the right message. And I find that many times people they communicate from out of a stress position, stress, low energy, negative feelings, and the moment when they communicate from that point or out of that perspective, then trouble is coming because they are not okay with themselves. It's all about personal leadership when we think about other people. Am I okay with myself? The moment when you are okay with yourself, then you can be not too sensitive, because you should not be too sensitive when people talk to you, but you must be very sensitive when you talk to them. And realizing that now it's all about your right energy, the right feelings that you have. And the moment when you get that thing right, people can say whatever let's take a stupid example. Say, for instance, you come and tell me that I'm fat. Now, I'm not fat, so I know I'm not fat, so I will not be offended if you say I'm fat. But maybe if I were a bit overweight or this and that, and you say something like that, that would have been rude to me, and so on and so on. But be okay with yourself first. It all starts with personal leadership. And if you know who you are and you know what are your weak and strong points and all those things, then it's so much easier to be calm, whatever people might say, because you know who you are. So that is for me the starting point. It's not about how I can change other people. It's about how I can change myself. And then I can influence people to maybe also step in line. What Paul mentioned or talked about is that alignment for me in vision. If the leader have a vision and you know where you are going, and sometimes I often find that leaders don't really know where they're going. But okay, if they know their vision and they got a power vision, and then the secret is to align the people around them with their vision. Their diversity can empower your vision to take you where you want to go. But it must be in line, because remember, each and every person also have their vision. But if it is in line with what the company wants, then suddenly there's some energy that are unlocked, and suddenly something kicks in. And that's what you actually want in a business. And diversity, different people, different points of view are excellent for that. And then you will find that this business, this company, energize each and every person with their diversity and take them to where they can be the best person and energetic and can give an energetic contribution. Thank you.
Daniel, your perspective on this.
Okay, so while everybody was talking, the movie was playing in my head. I'm sure you guys remember the movie Gladiator. And the thing I was thinking there is all these guys are sold into not even slavery, but they literally got sold to be used in the arenas. And obviously, the man with the vision, the man who wants to take out the emperor, he's skilled. He's not necessarily the biggest, and but he's skilled. And what he does is he has a heart for the people. He has the skills, and he has the heart, and he has the vision. And even though in the beginning he's not in a mood to fight, he realizes, you know what? Let me leverage off of the system. I know how to battle, I know how to war, I know how to kill. And what you will find is he starts to work with the black gentleman, the guy that acted, I think it's in the movie Blood Diamond. I don't know if it was the same guy, but basically he starts to work strategically with this guy. He works with all different race, all different culture, and they all realize that he's the one that they need to follow. He's the one that they need to listen to, and he basically gets them off of that. They're going to die in the first round, and you know what? A lot of them start to live for a vision. They become stronger. They become tougher. And it really falls down to in 2017, this is when I started my life's journey. That is when I started getting the coaching. I started learning how to become a skilled leader. And I learned that you have to follow first. A lot of people want to lead, but they don't necessarily want to follow. So what I've learned is no, shut your mouth, sit down, submit yourself to a group of leaders who know more than you. When you're in the company of greatness, shut your mouth and listen to them. So I've humbled myself to the point where I've said, you know what, if these people are more successful than me, if these people are more richer than me, if they've got, a bigger following, a good vision, I need to listen to them. So what I've learned to do is actually just listen to the leaders. And what I've also learned now, I've got, like with my workshops coming up, is I've learned you have to mix people up. So for example, the creative people, you need to have the creative people here. And then the analytical people, you need to have them here. But you need to, as a leader, get them to work together. So you have to come up with the vision and you have to drive this thing. And then you have to bring people together. So what did Jack Ma say when they asked him, how does he do it? He says he gets people that are a lot smarter than him in different fields. And what he does is he gets them to work together. They know something he doesn't know, but he's got the skill to get them to work together. So I'm learning how to master that. And that's why for me, I have learned I don't know everything. I need to humble myself. If there's a better marketer than me, I need to learn from him. And sometimes we get a little jealous, right? We're human. But I've learned, learn from the person. And then, improve on your skills, improve on your journey. And then at the right time, when you are ready to lead, then you go and lead. And then naturally, once you are leading, you're going to have followers. That's my perspective on that.
Paul, you're a leadership coach, and what is your thoughts on the leadership role as far as DEI is concerned?
Well, I think everyone has spoken on this as well, but the first position of leadership is to understand yourself. So once you understand yourself, because if you have a grudge against someone else and you have a grudge against certain aspects, you don't understand how to work with those people because you're busy fighting the whole time. So understanding yourself is the first step. So when we start coaching people and working with them, is to understand where you are, understand yourself. And I love what Daniel said around the creatives and the analytical people, because sometimes we battle with ourselves. We're creative, but we're analytical as well. We go into this mess of trying to understand without having a balance of understanding where they fit. So that first step is to actually understand yourself. So once you understand yourself, you understand what you're good at. And this is where I think leadership coaching or coaching generally works better than a lot of the education systems that we have. Is you focus on what you're good at. You don't focus on what you're bad at. Because if you're focusing on what you're good at, that you have the neural pathways to do it, you have the intellect to do it, you have the energy to do that. But if you focus on those things that you don't like doing, and Wilhelm will know this as well, there's no energy, there's no desire to do that. So for me, to do that, you unlock in that person who they are. And I'm not telling them who they are. I'm helping them discover who they are. And then once we do that, we start going into an area where they can use those skills. And how that then links to diversity and inclusion is a case of saying, all right, where are you trying to go? And back to the point Daniel made, where's the leader? The guy is maybe not the biggest guy, but the guy that has the bigger picture. How do we bring those? And then you play your role. I often use the term a toolbox. You play the role of the tool that you are in that toolbox to repair the problem. Don't try and be a screwdriver when you're a hammer. Don't try and be a spanner when you're a pair of pliers, because it's not going to work well. You're going to damage yourself. So it's getting all those people to function together and pull in the same direction.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. Great. Helen, what is your perspective on leadership role in a DEI, specifically from an energy point of view?
Thank you, David. Yes, you know, one must first start and maybe say, but what do I want to achieve with my business? I'm this leader now. What do I want to achieve? Now, let's a wonderful thing to use, story to use, is maybe the Springboks. The Springboks, they are now the world best rugby team. They won the big tournament and so on and so on. But the thing is, if you want to be the winning team, you need to select the right people for the right positions. You know, there's this big guy, Ibn Etzebeth, he's the lock. You can't take, for instance, Faf de Klerk, who's the scrum of a small guy, to be the lock. He will not be able to perform against the other people. I mean, he's a very good rugby player, but he's good in his position. And I find that in companies, sometimes they put people in a position that are actually should play the scrum half, but now he must catch the ball in the line out. It's impossible to compete with that guys, because those are big guys. So that person will be a failure. If you put Faf de Klerk there, he will be a failure, and the team will lose because of that. So it's so important to think about your people, to know where they fit in, what's the purpose. You know, we a couple of weeks ago, we discussed purpose in life and all those things. And it's so important each and every one of us fit into a specific position or place. We got a shape and we can fit into that shape. But if you are out of shape or out of position, it's a problem. And it frustrates everybody. And I think that is a big problem. It drains a lot of energy when people are in positions where they should not be in a position. You need to select the right people for the right position, and you need to equip them. Otherwise, you set them up for failure. Except that it will be a big frustration for you and your business if somebody is not contributing and do their part. But it's also not good for that person, because the whole time that person feel, I'm excluded, I'm not doing my part, the people don't like me because of this and that. So it's so important, as I've mentioned earlier, that you know yourself, and you should actually say, no, I'm not the right guy for this. You know, lots of people, they don't say no. They go and try whatever, and they are actually setting themselves up for failure, and it have a worse effect on them long term than you think. Because rather, as Daniel said, learn. Don't come and jump into a position where you are not ready for. You need to have the muscle. A few weeks ago, I used the story of the guy that was pushing the rock. Pushing the rock. When you push the rock, you build muscle. And only when after pushing that rock for quite a while, you might say, oh, what a waste. I'm just pushing the rock. I never get to the position. But the moment when you push the rock, you build the muscle. And then you are ready to take the position. And we need more people in positions with muscle so that you can move from good to great.
Absolutely. You know, when you're talking, I was thinking about, you know, expecting a fish to climb a tree and a monkey to swim in the water. You know, it just kind of doesn't work. Now, I've actually seen monkeys actually swim in water, but but yeah, I think that's really important to have the right people to do the right job. Daniel, from your perspective, leadership, what is your thoughts on that?
So I really liked what Paul and Wilhelm were saying, because I was listening and I'm thinking, sometimes we all become selfish, right? And sometimes you can become proud and arrogant in a leadership position. Something I've I've interviewed a lot of people, and they've warned me, because I've got mentors now, And but while you guys were talking, my mind was just going back to so one of the interesting things that Jesus said in one of his teachings, he says, no one who's fit for the kingdom can look back. So one of the things I've learned is never to look back. When you're going to look back, there's two reasons why you look back. You look back to see how far you've come. And then you look back and you say, you know what, I'm doing a lot better. But one of the things, as you guys were talking, that I kept thinking is something I told people is, as a leader, and 100%, Paul, you said, focus on what you're good at doing. Don't focus on the bad things. So one of the things that I keep telling people is, if I just can give you the example of, if I take a racetrack, I can put it on a farm and it can work. So meaning you can take people and you can make them do what's good, so they can do a lot of good things. So you take a Ferrari and now you put it on a farm, and you like tie it, you tie something to it and you let it plow the field. It can do that, but it's not meant to do that, And it's the thing that I've learned with people is, you got to be where you're supposed to be. So for example, I can take a tractor and I can put it on a racetrack, it will perform, and that's all good, but that's not what it was meant to do. So 100%, you got to take somebody who's a leader and you got to put them where they're going to prosper. So for example, I was not exactly the most top, I was not an A student in school, never was. And even till today, I'm not an A student, but one thing that nobody could ever take away from me was my people skills. So even though I was what you would call the kid that was always kicked out of class, and the teachers struggled with me, the people in the school still wanted me to become a head boy. They literally all voted and they said, we need Dan to be our head boy. And for me, it was it like messed me up, because like, how is it that I can be the teacher's worst enemy, yet the standard fives were all voting for me to become head boy? It was because of my leadership positions, because I loved people. And I never understood that until years later. So yeah, I might not be an academic, but put me with people, help me become their leader. And that is what I'm going to say to people, is 100% focus on what you were called to do. So if you only have that one skill or that one talent, then master that and you will become the leader, and then people will follow you. That's something I've learned, Don't do everything. Too many people I meet, they want to be the jack of all trades, but they never quite master something. Whereas, like, what is it that you can focus on? That is what you master.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Absolutely. Paul, your perspective, and what would you, as a leadership coach and somebody who's involved with actually helping leaders from adults and from the youth, what is your aspect on that, and what would you suggest as far as leadership in the DEI process?
I just want to zoom into the E in the DEI, the equity portion, and I think touches on what all the speakers have said here as well. When we say equity, we look at equity of giving everyone a fair chance, but not everyone will be equal. Exactly as Daniel said, not everyone is an academic, not everyone is someone who can take a leadership role. We all have to be leaders fundamentally, but I think there's a lot of confusion when we say equity. We are looking at bringing in equal, making everyone equal. Everyone is not equal, depending on your background, depending on what you've done, but we're looking at equal chances. So I think from a leadership perspective, it's very, very important that we look at how we bring people into an organization, how we almost tee them up before we introduce them into certain situations, because give people a fair chance, an equal chance, but don't make everyone equal. So I think, once again, in diversity, we have to accept the fact that everyone is diverse. There's no ways that even someone born in the same year as me, had the same family as me, had the same qualifications, the same experiences as me, and even, touches on inclusion as well. How do we include people? We cannot be so, exclusive. And this is a trend which I'm seeing around the world. There's a trend for exclusivity once again, where we see people locking people out, countries almost becoming insulative in terms of we only do business with ourselves to make ourselves great. That's not an inclusive attitude from a leader's perspective. So I think these are probably all controversial topics, and the whole concept of DEI is also controversial. But it's a case of understanding where we can be fair, and I suppose fair is also a relatively open question, but just from a governance perspective, what is fairness? But as a leader, you need to know what your position is on that, and then also just test it with the team, understand what their beliefs are, because listening to people and understanding where they are helps bring unity as well. But if you've got your thoughts and you're pulling in one direction, then they are pulling in a different direction. That's what creates disunity, and creates all sorts of extra issues. I'm not too sure whether that clarifies it.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, well, I think that brings us to the next section, which is basically looking at the future trends in DEI. Anticipating where are we going, specifically in South Africa, and specifically with the remote working. I mean, I'm now remotely working in Knysna, and the issue here obviously is the internet. And you've seen that we've had a few internet problems here. But the question is, with the internet being able to, this meeting would not have been possible before the internet, and before having the technology to actually have a discussion with people that are, very, very far away from each other. And basically each of us from either our office or our home or wherever we're sitting. So this is something that's moving on in the future. There's more futures, there's AI and so on. And I'd like to maybe ask, let's start with Daniel, from your perspective, specifically knowing, AI, Daniel quite versed in AI. And let's hear Daniel, and then we'll go around over to you, Daniel.
Okay, so while you guys were talking, I was thinking, first of all, crisis is going to create opportunities. And one of the things that I'm trying to tell people is, yes, AI, as wonderful as what it is, yes, it is going to threaten many people and replace many people. They're like, I can't put a positive or a negative on it. It's like if you have a look, this is to the listener, and I really want you guys to understand and listen to this. I'm the last millennial. 85 baby, and one of the things I saw was like when we used to record music. I don't know about you guys, but I would literally, as a teenager and as a kid, sit by the radio and wait for my favorite song and then press play and record. That was how we got music. And then all of a sudden one day came out CDs, and then that was replaced. And then one day we had cassettes, then we had CD players, and then so if you look at the generations, it was the vinyl, then it was the tape deck, then it was the CD. Yes, they all operated at one time together, but then all of a sudden MP3 comes out, and now all of a sudden we're starting to reject CDs, and then all of a sudden USB comes out, and then cell phone. Like now, everything has changed and evolved. So every industry that threatens another industry is something that people should be mindful of. So one thing I'm going to say is this. Crisis you've got to start looking at it from a creative point of view and say, all right, this new technology is here. How can I leverage off of this new technology? How can I build myself a business? So my workshop tomorrow is designed for this. A lot of people don't want to get on camera. They don't have the confidence. So I'm teaching them, hey, listen, you can clone yourself on AI. You can get a voiceover. We can even take a picture and we can start creating content with AI for you. And then there's all these social media apps that are now helping people, to post schedule. You can do research now. You can do studies. And what I'm saying to people is, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to test new things. Just a quick, sorry, I'm going to take a little bit of time. But if I look at myself, I was a high school dropout. I never understood the system. I couldn't quite understand how to narrow down academics because, I'm a visual person. You got to teach me practically how to do things. So don't give me a textbook on a car. Physically take me part by part, strip the car in front of me, and then teach me how to put it back together. Then I have that skill for life. So one of the things I learned how to empower myself as, let's just say, somebody who wasn't an academic was I started getting onto YouTube. And I started to learn on YouTube how to do things. Now that TikTok is out, I'm getting so into a rabbit hole with the conspiracies, and I'm absolutely loving it. But I'm also learning about inventions that they were hiding away from us, energy solutions. And I'm really starting to look at this and I'm saying, oh, wow, When the water crisis comes, and boy, it's coming. I'm optimistic, but it's coming. Guess what? It's going to create an opportunity for you to have a water business. So use AI to help you there, right? We know that we're going to have energy crisis problems. So guess what? Right there, start building a business now around energy solutions. We know that we're going to have food shortages and food problems. That's it's in the Bible. It's going to happen, you know. So what do you do as a human being, right? Take all the tools available, start setting yourself up a little business, and just look for the crisis and then turn those crises into opportunities. And AI is a great platform to find the information. So use ChatGPT. And just start getting onto YouTube and saying, right, all AI apps in this division. So whatever field you're in, find the AI tools that can help you automate and generate the content. And that's really what's exciting me is, yes, I know the problems are coming, but guess what? I'm gearing up for the solutions. I'm gearing up to empower myself. I'm gearing up to make more money. And that's how people should be. So to the listener, I really hope that you are listening and taking these classes seriously, because you're going to leave here and you're going to have to do something different with your time, with your life. That's it.
Sure, that's powerful stuff. Thank you so much, Daniel. Wow, excellent. Wilhelm, from your point of view, future as far as the DEI is concerned, and energy of your body and yourself. Over to you.
Thank you, David. Yeah, interesting conversation this. I must say, you know, we as people, as human beings, we are still the same as hundreds and hundreds of years back. We are still the same. We operate in the same fashion, in a sense. When there's stress, we fight or flight or freeze and all those things. And that is still our operating system that rule us. And that's why we sometimes feel threatened by things like AI. And it's a fight or flight response that we have, and that determines how we actually how we face things, how we handle things, how we respond, and all those things. So we must still remember that technology happens and it moves fast, but we still need to stick to the basics concerning this topic. You know, the one thing that you must always remember when you work with people is the golden rule. Do to others that you would like them to do to you. If we really practice that rule, lots of these things will not be a problem. Yes, equity. Paul said, no equity, there's not a thing like equity in a sense. I agree. It's about uniqueness. We are unique. We are not equal. We are not the same. That's what is so wonderful. And the biggest energy draining factor or thing that you can do is to compare, because the moment when you compare, you will always be the loser. It drains your energy. So don't compare. We are not comparable with other people. We are unique. So be the best version of yourself. Energize yourself, know and understand who you are, and then fit into your space. And there's always a space. The fact that you are here on earth today, you are made for this time. You know, I got 5 grandkids now. And I must say that the thought crossed my mind and said, what will happen to them in this difficult times and blah, blah, blah. And then I realized God made them for this time. They are here for a purpose. And I don't have to worry about it. You know, many years ago when I just got married, and we were expecting our first kid, my mother-in-law said, how can you do this? And that was 36 or what years back. How can you have kids? Because it's difficult times. There's always difficult times. And if just think of it, if we didn't have our kids, I don't want to even think about it, because it's the joy of my life and my grandkids and all those things. So we are made for this time. It's very exciting with all the AI and technology. oh, wow, just use it and get some ideas from AI concerning the diversity, the equity, the inclusion, and so on. The point is, we must have respect for one another. I must do to others that I want them to do to me, be open-minded, let them add value in my life. And the thing is, me, I can only change my attitude. I can't change your attitude. I must change my attitude. And I must say, listen, I'm going into this world and, not looking, well, we need to look back, but we must move forward. You sometimes need to reverse, look back, learn from the past, because we can learn from the past. That's our biggest teacher, failures and the past and whatever, but move forward, always move forward into the future with the energy of faith, of vision, of what you can't really see. Move forward, but have that vision, and then get your team together, let them also as well see your vision, align them, and then opportunities will be opened, and we will move forward with energy, and it will be a wonderful future despite the challenges that might come up. But stop the nonsense of comparing one another with one another. We are all unique. Let's use that energy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wilhelm. Some fantastic gems there from Wilhelm. Thank you very much for that. Paul, from your point of view, would you like to do a wrap-up? I see we've got 4 minutes left. So
not too sure I'm going to be able to do a wrap-up. But I just want to say this, and I'm going to repeat it. The best way to predict the future is to create it. This is said by Peter Drucker. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And I really believe that we learn more from the past than trying to predict the future. We know that every decade there's some other calamity. We know after a crash like the Great Depression, 1933, there's a boom. We know these things. We know that financial records in an organization show you what the trend of sales is. They show you what the trend of sales is. So you've got to look back to almost predict the future. If we spend too much time worrying, as Daniel said, they're worrying about how this is going to impact us, we're wasting energy. Going back to Wilhelm's comment about energy, the more we look at what we have control over and what we can learn from what has happened, the more in control we will be. So for me, if I had to wrap it up, I would say is understand where you've been, learn from where you've been, and use that as a way to create your own future rather than trying to think where we're going to go. Because I also love what Daniel said in terms of crises create opportunities. So as we're going into a new environment, a lot of people are stopping what they're doing and saying, we don't know what's going to happen after certain dates. Use that opportunity to say, what can I do differently to make sure that I can make a difference there? So worrying and spending energy on the wrong things is actually going to take you downward rather than thinking, how can I think forward and how can I use the information that I have? So I haven't really done a great job in wrapping up, David. You could probably do a better job in wrapping up. But yeah, look forward and bear in mind where we have been in the past.
Thank you so much, Paul. Great to have you here. And please go along and look for Paul's on LinkedIn. You go and look for Paul Tanton, Uvita. Go along and follow him, and follow Wilhelm and Daniel and myself. And we do this Thursday. We have speakers come on. The idea is to talk about tools and things that we need to do to improve our lives. And obviously, it's totally free. It's an hour out of your day. So come and join us. Tell your friends about it, and come and join us. And obviously, put your comments in the comment section. On the different programs. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on YouTube at the moment. So yeah, please join us every Thursday. Tell people about it. We're at 8 o'clock South African time to 9 o'clock, and that's what we do. So we have different subjects, but the subjects all relate to in your 2024 Vision 2024. So I'd like to thank you all for being here today. I'd like to thank Paul, our special guest, leadership coach, to come along and talk to us. Daniel and Wilhelm, thank you very much for being here as valuable insights into this subject. So, the one thing that is, if I can just say, remember to ask the right question, count to 10. Think about what you want to ask the person rather than just doing it. So I'd like to thank you all. Come back next Thursday, come visit us, and please follow us all on LinkedIn. And if you would like to find out a little bit more about what we do, please DM us on LinkedIn as well, and we'll each of our different things. So thank you very much, and if you wouldn't mind, join us next Thursday. Thank you. Cheerio, everyone. Bye.
Picture this. It's the dawn of 2024 and you're poised for success. Why? Because you've established your why. This isn't just a whim or a hobby. It's the passion that propels you forward, the core of your ambition. Next, you assess your current position. Where do you stand? What are your strengths, your weaknesses? Honesty is key here. Now, envisage your destination. What do you want to achieve by the end of this year? Set those goals. Make them smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. With your destination locked, it's time to map out your plan. Break down your goals into manageable steps, then start stepping. Remember, action without reflection is aimless. Record your results, analyze your performance, and adjust your plan accordingly. The path to success in 2024 isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Take meaningful action, keep your eye on the prize, and continually strive for improvement. Here's to a successful 2024.